A river does not argue with the stones in its path. It does not curse the boulders that slow its flow, or the fallen branches that change its direction. The river simply moves, it bends, it flows around what cannot be moved, and carves through what can be softened. And in this way, without resistance, without complaint, the river finds its way to the sea. This is the ancient wisdom of acceptance, not surrender, not defeat, but a kind of flowing that transforms everything it touches. We live in a world that teaches us to fight. Fight against our circumstances, fight against our feelings, fight against the parts of ourselves we wish were different. We are told that strength means pushing harder, that peace comes from conquering our problems, that happiness waits on the other side of control. But what if the very act of fighting is what keeps us trapped? What if the peace we seek has always been available, hidden not in victory, but in the softness of letting things be exactly as they are? This is not easy teaching. Every part of our conditioning resists it. When pain arrives, we want to push it away. When disappointment comes, we replay the story differently in our minds, trying to rewrite what has already been written. When someone hurts us, we hold the weight of that hurt like a stone we refuse to set down, as if carrying it proves something important about who we are. But acceptance asks us something radical. It asks us to open our hands, to release the stone. Not because what happened was acceptable, but because holding on is crushing us. There's a story told in the old monasteries about a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors came to him with sympathy, saying how terrible this misfortune was. The farmer simply said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors came again, this time celebrating his good fortune. The farmer said, "Maybe." The following week, his son tried to tame one of the wild horses and broke his leg. Again, the neighbors offered condolences. Again, the farmer said, "Maybe." Soon after, military officers came to the village to draft young men into war, but they passed over the farmer's son because of his broken leg. The neighbors marveled at his luck, and the farmer said, "Maybe." This story is not about being passive or indifferent. It is about seeing clearly. The farmer understood something most of us forget in our urgency to label everything as good or bad, fair or unfair, wanted or unwanted. He understood that life unfolds in ways we cannot predict, that our judgments about what should or should not be are often based on incomplete information, and that peace comes not from controlling the unfolding, but from meeting it with openness. Acceptance begins with noticing. Right now, take a slow breath. Notice the sensation of air moving into your body. Notice the slight pause at the top of the breath. Notice the release. This is happening whether you control it or not. Your heart is beating. Your cells are working. Your body is doing 10,000 things without your permission or direction. Life is already happening through you. Acceptance is simply acknowledging this truth. It is seeing what is, rather than arguing with reality about what should be. But here is where it gets subtle. Acceptance does not mean we become passive observers of our own lives. It does not mean we stop caring or stop trying to create change. A doctor accepts the diagnosis before treating the illness. An artist accepts the canvas before applying paint. A gardener accepts the soil before planting seeds. Acceptance is not the end of action. It is the beginning of wise action. When we stop fighting against what is, we can finally see clearly enough to respond with wisdom rather than react from fear. Think about the last time you felt truly frustrated. Perhaps it was traffic that made you late. Perhaps it was a conversation that did not go the way you planned. Perhaps it was your own mind racing with thoughts when you wanted stillness. In that moment of frustration, notice what happened in your body. Your shoulders tightened, your jaw clenched, your breath became shallow. This is the body's response to resistance. We are literally bracing against reality, using our own energy to fight against what has already happened or what is happening now. And this fight exhausts us. It steals our peace. It keeps us locked in a battle we can never win because we are fighting against the present moment itself. Acceptance is the choice to stop fighting. It is the moment we say, "This is what is happening right now," not I like this, not, this is fair. Simply, this is. In that acknowledgement, something shifts. The tension begins to release. The clenched fist opens. We have not changed our circumstances, but we have changed our relationship to them. And in that change, we discover a kind of freedom we forgot was possible. There was once a monk who carried great pain from his past. He had lost people he loved. He had made mistakes that haunted him. Every day he would sit in meditation, trying to find peace, but the memories would come like waves, crashing against his mind. He tried to push them away. He tried to replace them with pleasant thoughts. He tried to breathe them out, visualize them dissolving, mentally, argue with them. Nothing worked. The pain remained. One day, his teacher found him weeping in the meditation hall. The monk said, "I cannot find peace. The pain is too strong." The teacher sat beside him in silence for a long while. Then he said, "You are trying to have a different past. This is why you suffer. The past is exactly as it was. Your pain is proof that you cared deeply. Can you accept that the pain is here? Not forever, but right now, in this moment. Can you let it be here without fighting it?" The monk sat with this question. Slowly, instead of pushing the pain away, he allowed it to be present. He felt it fully. And in that acceptance, something unexpected happened. The pain began to move. It rose and fell like breath. It changed shape. It became less like an enemy and more like a visitor, something passing through. The monk did not lose his memories or stop caring about his past, but he stopped being at war with himself. And in that moment, he found the peace he had been seeking. This is the paradox of acceptance. When we stop resisting our pain, it loses its power to control us. When we stop demanding that life be different than it is, we can finally participate in it fully. This does not happen all at once. Acceptance is not a single decision, but a practice, a returning, a remembering again and again that fighting with reality only creates suffering. In your own life, notice where you are holding resistance. Perhaps you are resisting your emotions, telling yourself you should not feel angry or sad or afraid. Perhaps you are resisting your body, wishing it looked different or functioned differently. Perhaps you are resisting other people, replaying conversations and imagining how they should have responded. Perhaps you are resisting time itself, feeling it moves too fast or too slow, wishing you were younger or older or somewhere other than here. Each of these resistances is a small war you are waging against the present moment, and each one costs you peace. Acceptance invites you to lay down your weapons. It asks you to see that the present moment, exactly as it is the only moment you have. Everything else is memory or imagination. This moment, with all its imperfections, with all its unexpected turns, with all its difficulty and beauty mixed together, this is your life. Not the life you planned or the life you think you deserve, but the life that is actually happening. And there is a profound dignity in meeting it honestly, without pretense, without the exhausting work of pretending things are different than they are. Take another slow breath. Feel your body exactly as it is right now. Notice any tension you are holding. Notice any stories your mind is telling about how things should be. And just for this moment, see if you can let it all be exactly as it is. You do not have to like it. You do not have to keep it forever. Just for now, can you stop fighting? Can you let this moment exist without needing to change it? This is not giving up. This is waking up. Because when we accept what is, we gain access to a deeper kind of power. Not the power to control life, but the power to respond to life with wisdom and grace. When we are not consumed by resistance, we can see options we missed before. We can act from clarity rather than desperation. We can love more fully because we are not holding back parts of ourselves, trying to be someone we are not. There is a teaching in the old traditions about 2 arrows. The first arrow is the pain that life brings, the loss, the disappointment, the physical hurt, the unexpected change. This arrow is unavoidable. It is part of being human. But the second arrow is the one we shoot at ourselves. It is our resistance to the first arrow. It is our anger that we were hit, our shame, our endless questioning of why this happened to us, our refusal to accept that we were struck. The first arrow hurts, but it is the second arrow that creates our deepest suffering. Acceptance is the practice of not shooting the second arrow. It is acknowledging the first pain without adding layers of resistance and self-torture on top of it. When we do this, we discover that we are much stronger than we believed. We can hold difficult things. We can feel painful emotions without being destroyed by them. We can lose and grieve and continue, not because we are forcing ourselves to be strong, but because acceptance creates space for life to move through us naturally, the way the river moves around stones. This practice extends to how we meet other people. How often do we try to change the people in our lives? We want them to think differently, communicate differently, love us the way we need to be loved. We hold silent expectations and then feel hurt when those expectations are not met. But other people are not ours to sculpt. They are their own rivers, flowing according to their own nature. Acceptance means meeting people as they actually are, not as we wish they were. This does not mean tolerating harm or staying in relationships that diminish us. It means seeing clearly without the distortion of our demands. And from that clarity, we can make wise choices about how close we stand to someone, how much we share, what boundaries we need. When you accept someone fully, something miraculous can happen. They feel it. They sense that they do not have to perform for you or hide parts of themselves. And in that safety, they often become more of who they truly are. Love deepens not when we successfully change someone, but when we stop trying to. The same is true for how we love ourselves. Self-acceptance is not arrogance or complacency. It is the radical act of seeing ourselves clearly with all our flaws and fears and failures, and choosing to treat ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a dear friend. Notice how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake. Notice the harsh words, the judgments, the ways you withhold compassion from yourself while freely giving it to others. This internal violence is another form of resistance. You are resisting your own humanity, demanding that you be perfect, that you never struggle, that you somehow transcend the limitations all humans share. But you are human. You will make mistakes. You will have bad days. You will sometimes fall short of your own ideals. Acceptance says, yes, this too. I am learning, I am growing, and I am worthy of kindness right now, not someday when I finally get everything right. As we move through this practice, we begin to notice something profound. Peace is not something we achieve by arranging our lives perfectly. It is not waiting at the end of our to-do lists or on the other side of our problems being solved. Peace is available right now, in the midst of everything, when we stop demanding that this moment be different. It arises naturally when we release our grip, when we stop controlling and start flowing, when we meet life with open hands instead of clenched fists. This is ancient wisdom spoken in modern words. The Buddha taught that attachment to how things should be is the root of suffering. The Taoists spoke of Wu Wei, effortless action that comes from alignment with what is. The Stoics practiced amor fati, love of fate, embracing everything that happens as necessary. Different languages, different traditions, but the same essential truth. Fighting with reality creates suffering. Accepting reality creates peace. But let us be clear about what acceptance is not. It is not pretending everything is fine when it is not. It is not spiritual bypassing, using acceptance as an excuse to avoid necessary change. It is not passivity in the face of injustice. It is not tolerating abuse or neglecting responsibility. True acceptance is clear-eyed and grounded. It sees what is, including what needs to change, and it acts from a place of wisdom rather than reactivity. The person who accepts their addiction can seek help. The person who accepts their unhealthy relationship can choose to leave. The person who accepts injustice in the world can work for change. But they do it from a place of acceptance, not denial. They start with what is true, not with what they wish were true. This might seem like a small difference, but it changes everything. When we act from acceptance, our actions are more effective because they are based on reality. When we act from resistance, we are often fighting shadows, attacking problems that do not exist, or using strategies that cannot work because they are built on denial. Acceptance gives us solid ground to stand on. From there, we can build wisely. Take a moment now to think about something in your life you have been resisting. Maybe it is small, maybe it is large. Do not try to fix it or change it right now. Simply practice seeing it clearly. Say to yourself, this is here. This is what is happening. Notice what it feels like to stop arguing with reality, even for just a moment. Does something soften? Does your breath deepen? This is the beginning of peace. As you practice this throughout your days, you will notice that acceptance is not something you do once. It is a returning. Again and again, we forget. We get caught in resistance. We start fighting with the moment, and then we remember. We notice the tension. We take a breath. We say, ah yes, this is what is, and we soften again. This is not failure. This is the practice. Life will give you endless opportunities to choose acceptance over resistance. Each time you choose it, you are training your heart to meet life with more grace. The peace that comes from acceptance is different from the peace we imagine when we dream of perfect circumstances. It is quieter, deeper, less shiny. It does not depend on everything going our way or all our problems being solved. It is the peace of a tree that stands through storms, bending but not breaking, rooted in what is real. It is the peace of knowing that whatever comes, you can meet it. Not because you are strong enough to control everything, but because you are wise enough to flow with what cannot be controlled. There is great freedom in this. When you are no longer at war with reality, you have so much more energy. Energy that was going into resistance, into fighting, into wishing things were different, is now available for living, for creating, for loving, for being present with what is actually here. You become more available to joy because you are not constantly bracing against pain. You become more available to connection because you are not hiding behind who you think you should be. You become more available to your own life because you are finally willing to show up for it as it actually is. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to offer you a final reflection. You are exactly where you need to be, not where you hoped to be, not where you think you should be, but where you are. This moment, with all its complexity and confusion and unexpected turns, is your moment. It is the only one you have, and there is a profound beauty in simply being here for it, without apology, without resistance, without the constant work of trying to be somewhere else. The practice of acceptance is the practice of coming home. Home to your body, exactly as it is. Home to your life, exactly as it has unfolded. Home to this moment, exactly as it appears. And in that homecoming, you find the peace you have been seeking. Not because everything is perfect, but because you have stopped demanding that it be. You have laid down the heavy stone. You have opened your hands. You are flowing like the river, meeting what comes with grace and wisdom and an open heart. May you find moments today to practice this ancient art. May you notice when you are fighting with reality and gently choose to soften. May you meet yourself and others with the kindness that comes from seeing clearly. May you discover that peace is not something you must earn or achieve, but something that arises naturally when you stop pushing it away. Take one more slow breath with me now. Feel the gift of this moment exactly as it is, and know that you are held by something larger than your resistance, something ancient and wise that has been flowing through all beings since the beginning. You are part of that flow. You always have been. Today, may you find peace in the gentle art of letting things be.